So it's the whole concept of being your future self now is if you have a goal 3 years from now, 5 years from now, if you're listening to this podcast and you're saying to yourself, 1 year from today, I want to own a storage facility, then you need to start acting like you own it today and doing those things today that is going to make sure 1 year from now you'll have yourself in a as the owner of a storage facility or in a storage facility, whatever. And what you'll find is if you start doing that today with that 1 year goal, you'll probably be in one in 6 months or 7 months or 8 months. So that's applicable to anything. I'm using storage because we're talking about storage. But that I love that book for that reason. It's a total mindset shift that we need to go through personally. And it doesn't cost anything. It's just changing how you think about what you do and who you are as a person and becoming that person.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Mr. Deed podcast show. Today we have Mr. Joe Downs in the house. So he's actually the co-founder and CEO of the Bellrose Group, a company specializing in commercial self-storage real estate. With over 20 years of experience in real estate, he focuses on identifying and executing self-storage investment opportunities. Joe also shares industry insights through the successful Idiots podcast and leads self-storage education and mentoring programs through the Storage Mastermind. Joe, thank you so much for being on the show.
I'm glad you got a kick out of that. We
Dude, I
enjoy
was
it
like,
as
successful
well.
idiots.
What's funny about that is that we probably put out like 8, 9, 10 episodes. We're brand new, obviously, because it's
Mhm.
about AI. And I'm idiot one, by the way. But and the idiot two is actually an AI guru. But when it first came out, or when I first started saying to people, hey, send us an email if you want us to solve a problem with AI, whatever. The very first email we got said, Dear idiots. And I just started laughing. And I guess we walked into that one.
Dear idiots. That is funny. Oh man, but I love that.
Yeah.
I love... All right, talk to me now. So, what led you to specialize in commercial self-storage and build the Belrose Group?
The Belrose Group wasn't built on the back necessarily of commercial self storage. It was really built on the back of self storage, just the retail, what I now refer to as retail self storage or B2C, business to consumer. But it was somewhere in the maybe the 10th, 11th property we bought. It might have been sooner than that. Maybe it was seventh or eighth. I'm not even sure. But we bought one down in Wilmington, North Carolina, that was actually commercial self storage. And it wasn't called that. It was called contractor storage.
Hmm.
And it was built by a plumber and for his uses and then his buddies. And it's just one of those things where he had this land in this industrial park and he just kept build a building, then build another one, and build another one. And then before you know it, he had, because of the size of these things, the ceiling heights and the width and the depth, they're really not for consumers per se. Like it'd be too much for you, right? You don't need that much storage typically because the smallest unit's 450 square feet with a 16-foot ceiling. If you compare that to self-storage, where your most common unit size, or I always say the two-bedroom apartment of self-storage, is the 10 by 10, which is 10 feet by 10 feet with an 8-foot ceiling. So this commercial storage is way too much space typically for a consumer. But what does he have in there? He's got some consumers as clients, not just contractors. But what are they storing? RVs and boats and $1 million toy cars and stuff like that. So yeah, we bought this facility, not even really knowing what we were buying. We underwrote it like it was self-storage and we'll figure this thing out, but the math works. And in that process, and I'll skip over a lot of the details along the way, but in that process, we realized, wait a second, we've got something here. Not just because it's an interesting concept where you're bringing all this together. There was a multitude, I should say, of reasons why this made sense for us to actually start moving into that niche within storage and start building it. One is the paradigm shift that's happening in how our goods are transported. They come
Mhm.
to our door now, we don't go get them. And that's been a paradigm shift in how all that works and where the goods come from. Those just million square foot distribution facilities into something more local so they can have it to us next day. Now we want it tomorrow. Next year we want it today, right?
Right.
So the problem just compounds for the logistics companies like Amazon and Walmart, the two biggest. But then you've also got the contractors, and they're getting pushed out of all these spaces where where they were living with their businesses because they're getting pushed out for e-commerce. But then you have this totally unrelated, complete supply and demand imbalance between the number of boats and RVs that are purchased every year and new parking spots for them. And that's for a completely different reason. Municipalities hate them. So you had this one big, ugly, not ugly, but we're building's beautiful. But what at the end of the day, they're just bigger metal boxes than what we normally would refer to, or you would look at, or you drive by, or even maybe use in self storage. It's still self storage. It's just bigger metal boxes for bigger things and more commercial and professional uses. And so we coined the term pro storage because it just encapsulates everything. And of course, pro storage, people are like, I hope you trademarked it. Tried to, but guess what? All of the cloud storage guys that are way ahead of us in storage already
Mm.
got there first. So our brand name is Store Pro. But we coined the term pro storage. So our little claim to fame and our little tiny niche that nobody cares about.
Love that, man. Okay. So yeah, that's interesting how you fell into that.
Yeah, it
So
was
when
an
it comes with
evolution.
the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry to talk over you. It was an evolution.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. So when it comes to the Belrose Group, so what would the Belrose Group kind of focus on?
So Belrose Group started buying value add self storage.
Okay.
That's how we found this one commercial asset.
Makes sense now.
This more, they're all commercial assets. This more commercial use asset.
Okay.
And the light bulb went off. We still buy value add self storage. In fact, we spend most of our time teaching self storage now. So we were I came through a mentorship program. That's how I learned the business. And then I started being asked to speak at that academy. It was Scott Meyer's Self Storage Academy. And then we started to speak at it. And then we started to fulfill the actual back end education. So now we teach all the students how to buy it. So we have a whole program we put people through. And then we're still out there looking for self storage ourselves. And then we're also developing pro storage. We're busy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. So interesting. What separates successful storage investors such as yourself from those who struggle in their first deal or maybe first couple deals?
That's a great question. I can only speak to the ones that come through our education program. And so I can see the successful from the ones that struggle. I would suspect if they're not going through someone's training program, what separates them is just lack of knowledge and education and bumper lanes. If you picture a bowling alley, right? That's what an education mentorship program is going to provide is those bumper lanes
Mm,
to keep that ball in the lane and out of the gutter. I think that was sort of a mentorship program or a coaching program. I think it's that within hours what separates the people because now they've got the bumpers. It's just work ethic. It's a grind. It's not, we tell people before they sign up to go through this, we're not in the microwave business. This is the crock pot business. Believe it or not, it's a relationship building business. Buying a self storage facility is more like buying someone's house from not just a family that lived there for 5 years and is trading up because they have more kids and they want a bigger house or a better neighborhood. But picture you're buying a house from the grandparents who've lived there for 30 or 40 years.
mm,
You're buying, when you buy that house from them, you're buying a life of memories that were created there. And so you're buying what's more like their baby. And in self storage, you're buying their baby. They're typically 65, 70, 75. Actually, probably average age, I bet you, of our seller is 72, 73.
oh wow.
And you're buying something they either built themselves or maybe they expanded it. Or even if they didn't do either of those, they've been with it for 10, 20 years. They probably had plans to give it to their kids who don't want it, but it's been their baby. And they want to make sure that you're going to, and by the way, those customers, a lot of times, this is the real mom and pop stuff, right? Those customers might be friends, like a little too friendly,
Mm.
which is part of the opportunity and part of their problem. But it's their reputation. They're in that neighborhood. People know them. They know the facility. They might have flower boxes out front. There's curb appeal to it, right? So you're buying something that they have cared for, and therefore a relationship needs to happen. And so the difference between people that are successful and unsuccessful is one is actually the grind, like getting yourself in the way of those conversations and building those relationships. The successful people do it and they build up a pipeline of them. The unsuccessful ones don't. The successful folks are immerse themselves in education. We have multiple calls a week, activities they can do, things they should be doing. The successful ones do it. They're actually putting forth effort 10, 15, 20 hours a week. The unsuccessful ones don't. They're more like voyeurs. They just show up and they think that just because they're there and they paid for education, it's just going to fall in their lap. And that's not true.
Mm.
So it's no different, by the way, I'm sure, Omar, than any other asset class. The people that put in the work are the ones that are successful.
So let me ask, is did you buy your first unit and then join and then get the coaching, or did you get the coaching and then buy your first unit?
No, I went through mentorship and training first. I always believed in that. It's not the first mentorship and training I've gone through in my life. I think it's so important because you don't know what you don't know, and that's the
Yeah.
scariest part. And by the way, I've tried to do it without mentorship and training. It doesn't go well. So I'm a believer in invest in yourself. And then kids go to college to invest in themselves, I believe. You could argue about the ROI there, but that's why they do it because you don't know what you don't know, and from there you're supposed to go out into the world in whatever profession and then do, but you invested in yourself first. So same concept, same logic. No, we went through training and mentorship first. I had the guardrails, and then
Okay.
the difference is we just applied ourselves and loved it, and loved it was part of it. Like I love the business to the point where I'm in multiple verticals in the business, like different niches, verticals, whatever you want to say. But we haven't fully rolled out teaching all 6 or 7 verticals. We can argument there's 7 in storage, but there's actually 24. But there's really, for me, there's 6 or 7 that it depends on how much you want to distill things down. But for me, there's 6 or 7 big ones. You have self storage, pro storage, IOS, which is industrial outdoor
Mm.
storage, boat and RV storage. You got valet parking, truck parking club is like Airbnb for storage. By the way, another paradigm shift that's happened is we got more trucks on the road moving goods and major supply and demand imbalance there. Where do they park these things? Either
Yeah.
for a night, a week, or a month. I mean, they're on sides of highways now getting tickets because there's nowhere because they can only drive for so many hours a day.
Yep.
It's actually a problem in our country right now. Look, we're not saving lives in this business, especially when we're storing literally what amounts to people's garbage, junk, treasures, total.
Treasures. Yeah.
But there are parts of the business like the pro storage and the where we're facilitating a place for businesses to operate and work out of, or truck parking where you actually not again you're not saving lives, but you're making an impact. You're helping the economy and people's small businesses. Truckers are small businesses, so you are making a positive impact on the United States and the economy.
That's pretty cool, man. So let me ask. Now, you talked about your deal and people, and as far as you obviously get the coaching, which I completely 100% agree with you on that. I'm a big believer in, yeah, you got to pay a little bit extra, but you know what? A lot better than falling flat on your face. And how much is it really going to cost you at the end of the day? So, in saying all that, what are the biggest mistakes that you probably see from first-time self-storage investors that they make without probably going through a program that you were a part of?
They make it even though they come through our program, or they try to make it.
That
We don't let them. And this is going to be true whether you've got the guardrails or you're in our mentorship program or not. People fall in love with their first deal. You're looking at someone who's guilty as charged. I actually probably fall in love with every deal the first time I see it. It's just human nature because you want to do a deal. If you're a deal junkie, you want it to be a deal, right? There's something about it that's shiny enough that says we're going to find a way to make this work, and you're not. And in most situations, you're not. And unfortunately, the people that don't go through mentorship and training don't have someone like us to point out all the flaws with this deal and why it's so ugly and how you're going to lose your shirt on it. Our students do. We don't let them make those mistakes. They don't like us at first sometimes. They understand later and they thank us later. People that don't invest in themselves, the worst abusers are the ones that have the money. And they
Mm,
might even have enough business savvy in some other field to think or convince themselves that they're right and they can get financing from a lender. And if they don't use a lender that doesn't really know self storage, isn't really calling them out on certain assumptions, then it looks like, hey, we just won, we closed on our first deal, but at the end of the day, they don't even see that you just closed on a disaster, and
Mm,
or you overpaid for it by two, three, 400 grand. That a lot. Sometimes it's not that they're disasters. Sometimes you just overpaid by 100 grand or 200 grand or 300 grand. It's very common that our students renegotiate 100, 200, 300,000 from list or more. And then even when we're under contract, because part of our program, we do a site visit with you, we'll point out things that you can go back and renegotiate for, and point out the difference between nice to have and have to have, or business decision and not a business decision. It's non-negotiable type of thing. Our students almost always make back at a multiple of what they invested in themselves, whatever that investment was. Not no guarantees. That's not part of what we say, but
of course not.
it just seems to happen an awful lot.
And how long would you say it takes the average, let's say the average student, yeah, let's say the average student to go ahead and go under contract on their first deal and close?
So from coming into our mentorship program, the, am I allowed to differentiate between the grinders and the ones that are lazy?
Sure.
Because the ones that are lazy, I don't know, they might luck into one and they might never find one. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink.
Correct.
So the horse that wants to drink, average somewhere between 6 and 9 months, they're in their first deal.
Okay. That's actually not a bad turnaround. I
Yeah,
was
I
thinking
mean,
maybe at least like a year and a half to 2 years, but
if you want to hold me to it, let's say a year. It's not, if you're doing the work,
mhm.
it's not, it shouldn't be more than that. I remember thinking that was too long. I wanted it sooner. Now that I'm more serious or seasoned in it, I realize, first of all, when you find it, you're 90 days away anyway. It's
Yeah.
a 90-day closing process. So just that means you found it in 3 months. So 6 months is like those are our aggressive, like they're working students. I should probably push it to 9 to 10 months is probably fair. More I think about it as average, because there's a little bit of luck involved too. And there's some bad luck involved.
Mm.
We at Belrose have lost our last three deals. I'm from Philly, so I like to say we're a tush push away from closing and we have to walk away from it, right? Fumbled the snap or something. And it wasn't us. It's weird things like the seller just didn't disclose something that's pretty damn material
Mm.
and it's a deal killer. Or we had one where recently it bothers me to no end. FEMA, but we got lucky. FEMA in June of 2025 expanded their flood zone, their 100-year flood map, to include this facility we were just about to close on, and we caught it literally. You want to talk about tush push? This ball's in the 6-inch yard line. It's Jalen Hurts going in for the touchdown, and we caught it. And our insurance would have gone from, I think, the budgeted 11 or 12 grand a year to like 74,000 a year, like totally
Ooh.
unworkable.
Wow.
So I remember my partner called me and he was like, dude, we just can't catch a break. And he told me the story. And I said, Tim, we just did catch a break. We almost closed on that and owned it.
Ugh.
That is the break we just caught, is
Yeah.
that our crack squad attorneys caught it at the 11th hour, right before the end of due diligence. So we lost some legal fees and some environmental and some inspection money we paid, but we didn't lose our deposit. We didn't end up in a deal that we were buying for 1.5 million, which was going to turn out to be worth 500 grand. When you layer in an additional 60 or 70, or maybe the math was wrong, but it was like additional 60 or $70,000 a year in flood insurance,
Mm.
which crushes when you. That's just all expense. You slap a cap rate on that, it's $1 million.
Yeah, you guys definitely dodged well, you dodged a missile on that one, didn't you?
Yeah. So sometimes it's just that's unlucky. If that was a student, they would have had their first deal in 6 months, 9 months, whatever, but it fell out for good reason. But it fell out. So it just sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's unlucky. But the students that grind, I would say average 9, 10 months, something like that.
Okay. That's not bad. That's not bad. So, future outlook. Where do you see technology and competition shaping the future of self-storage and of the self-storage industry?
We already have it. First of all, COVID, what it did to enhance the technology use of the space is off the charts. It can't be underestimated or overstated, I should say. It's so we're already a faceless business for the most part. Depends on the facility. Sometimes you have to have people there because of the size, layout, et cetera. But a lot of self storage facilities are just remotely managed and remotely run. Here's an example of technology, the way we use it already. Perfect mom and pop facility for me to find is I'm going to paint a scenario and then I'm going to show you at Belrose how we use technology, right? So, perfect one is I find it where the owner says, first of all, I show up there and the rates and phone number of the building are painted on the side of the building. Phone number, okay. You probably don't change your phone number very much, but if your rates are painted on the side of the building, you're probably not rate changing them very much.
Mm.
That's just like home run. How do I negotiate this deal? Because, and then they say things like, our customers love us. We're always full. And not all of this has to do with technology, but I'll just throw it all out there and then show you what I mean by technology in a second. Then there's always the church. There's always a church involved, and they always have 2 units they're probably not paying for. And then there's the family members always, or the owner themselves always have 3 to 5 units that they're using. There's always about 10 units where the springs and the doors are broken. They just haven't gotten around to fixing them. And then 10 to 20 units where don't worry, they're good for it, but they haven't paid in 6 months to 2 years. So that's like the holy grail of, and there's no website and right. And when the phone number goes to their cell phone and it's, hi, this is Barbara. This is my cell phone. If you need storage, leave a message and I'll call you back. Or now, Barbara's got to go meet them there. So that's the holy grail because they're leaving so much money on the table. But from a technology standpoint, when I buy that facility, you will be able to find it from your cell phone, rent a unit from your cell phone. You will pay by the way, they probably collect checks and cash and all that stuff, right? We will put you on auto pay, force you to put a credit card or debit card in there. You will also pay for insurance, which is maybe another $9 a month on top of your rental, unless you can prove that you have homeowners insurance, which is cover or renter's insurance, one or the other that'll cover the contents. You have to be insured. We're not going to you're not coming after us if something
Mm.
happens. So you find it, all that, all from your cell phone, right? That's mom and pops. They don't have any of that. Maybe they have a website. And if they do, it's usually from the MySpace era. This stuff in websites is amazing. We've saw my favorite one was they had a website. It was a static website. And if you clicked on, I don't even think they knew this, but if you were Googling it and you clicked on photos from Google of that website, one of them was like the employee taking pictures of herself in the bathroom, probably for a dating website. Right? That's on the profile of this storage facility. And then we've seen some crazy other stuff from there. So, how does technology get involved? That's like the low hanging fruit of technology. But then you have AI and dynamic pricing. So now we use so we have software that will dynamically price our units based on availability of certain sizes in the market, no different than airline seats or Airbnb.
Okay.
And so that technology already exists and we're already using it, or smart operators are. And even boutique, smaller operators like us, we've only bought 20 facilities. But even if you buy one, your first one, the technology now exists for you to use it. It's not just the Public and Extra Space and CubeSmart that has this technology. So those companies are out there. Management companies never used to go below a certain square footage because of technology. Now they can manage 20 and 30,000 square foot facilities, mom and pop size facilities. And then AI. So we're using AI in any number of ways. AI is obviously baked into dynamic pricing. Excuse me, but it's also, we're using it to help organically market and promote our facilities within local communities as well. Doing things, creating content you could never have created before, right? Bringing exposure to your facility at a local level. Because if you're in a market with a REIT, you're in an SEO war. Who's going to win that? Not me. I can't beat public. There's an old saying that I love. It's another reason we don't go after huge facilities. If you want to play Tiger Woods at something, you can. Just don't play him in golf, right? If you want to beat him at something, you're not going to beat him at golf. Even today with his bum leg and operations, I'm still not going to beat him. So we try not to go. If I'm in a market with public, that's Tiger Woods of storage. And I can't beat them at the SEO game. They're going to outspend me. So what are my options? I have to get creative. AI allows you to get organic on a local level in a way that the bureaucracy of public and CubeSmart and Extra Space cannot. So it's starting to level the playing field, or at least give the smaller operator some tools and advantages that the bigger ones had to themselves, and now they don't anymore.
Love that. And now I'm thinking if this lady ever got a date.
Maybe from a customer.
That maybe,
Maybe
maybe.
that's why they rented there. It could have been. It could have worked. Could have been great
It
marketing.
could have. Maybe now they're married and
Yeah,
happily married.
our
I mean,
occupancy
you never
went
know.
down after we took
Yeah,
that photo down.
I'm sure it did.
She was on to something.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So, what would you say? What's your approach to mentoring then the next generation of self-storage investors? Is it like, hey, you got to, here's our mentorship program. This is what we need to do.
Yeah, my approach is, it's interesting. It's almost like it's barbelled. On the one hand, I'm beating AI into these people. And as we talked about, I have an AI podcast, right? I am
Mm,
huge proponent of AI, not just for self storage and everything you do in your life. It's an amazing tool that you can use in so many different ways. You just have to start to retrain your brain and think differently about how to use it as a thinking partner. On the one hand, I'm trying to beat them into understanding AI, because what I didn't talk about is we use it in due diligence too, right? So it can quickly analyze stuff for us now. Like we have GPTs that underwrite markets in seconds instead of 45 minutes. Do we want to be in that market? Here's all the things we would do to determine that. Normally it takes us 30 to 45 minutes. It might take us 30, a student 45. Now it takes both of us 4 seconds. It takes you as long to read the report, right? It takes you longer
yeah.
to read the report than it does to generate the report. So I'm trying to beat AI into them, which is like nouveau, way new, hippest, latest technology, right? Just trying to get them to adopt it and show them the different use cases. On the completely other end of the barbell, I'm saying to them, you got to go old school. You got to build a relationship. It's the handwritten letter. It's the driving for dollars, showing up in person, and just trying to build a relationship, not trying to sell them something. And that's the
Mm,
funny thing about this business. We're trying to, the sale is trying to get you, Omar, to sell me your facility, right? When it's not for sale. And that is a sale in and of itself. It's a mindset sale, right? I want to be the next logical owner of your facility, whether that's in 3 months or in 3 years. And so to do that, you have to build a relationship, and you have to do it without looking like you're there to sell advertising in the freaking phone book, right? Because as soon as you walk into on their lot and they now know you're not there to rent a unit, it does, you are a salesperson. It could be insurance, it could be pest control. In the old days, it was the phone book, a telephone, Wi-Fi, whatever. You are not a buyer, you are a seller. And you have to convert that immediately and as quickly as you can, I should say, into a relationship. And so that draws on the old school principles of how to have a conversation with people, which is harder for, I think, the newer generation. I don't know. You seem like a younger guy. I'm Gen X. So I did grow up with a phone on the wall with a 20, 30-foot long cord so you could wrap into another room so no one could hear your conversation. And that was called remote. Well, actually, we did have remote. Then they came with antennas and we could get 50
Oh,
yards
I
away.
remember one of those. I remember I saw one of those.
Saw one of those. Reminds me, real quick, my kids were like 6 and 5 or something like that, 7 and 6. And we were in Florida walking up to this museum, but it was like a museum. It was a old estate, a house, right? And there was a parking lot and then the mansion, and there was like 100 yards in between, and there was a walkway. And on the walkway was a payphone, like a public payphone, just sitting off to the side. And my kids were walking. They go, whose phone is that? It was hilarious. So we had to have that whole conversation. But in either case, you literally have to. I feel like I'm educating them on, teaching them as a parent teaches a child. When you go to the relative's house, did you say hi to Aunt Dorothy and Uncle Bob? Did you make? And it's annoying. Yes, I said hi, Mom. But it's, you have to do that. Compliment them on the facility. Ask them how long they've owned it. Don't ask them if they want to sell it.
Yeah.
Tell them you're in the market and you love what they've done here, and you're looking around and you're wondering if they should go talk to the guy down if you should go ask the guy down the street. Because that's the other thing. People love to help people. You just have to ask.
Yep.
So as long as I'm not a threat to you, Omar, when I walk onto your lot, I'm not a threat to try to sell you something. If I'm just there to say, hey, Omar, I need some help. Or, hey, Omar, I need some help because I'm trying to buy my first self storage facility. Don't worry, I'm not going to try to buy yours. Take it away. Right now, I'm not a threat to you, but I'm wondering if you could help me. You're like, yeah, I'm an expert. Clearly, you've labeled me one. So how can I help you? Hey, Bob's storage down the street. Do you know if is that would that be a good thing for me to go after to buy? Like, you think he's in the market to sell? Is this a good market? Now, Omar, you're helping me. And
Mm.
you're also going, well, why don't you want to buy mine? What's wrong with my facility? Why haven't you asked me about mine? It's a whole, you flip it,
Yeah.
but it's old school relationship building without selling. So that's the two ends of the barbell is the leaning into AI, because that's the future of how we're doing everything from a business standpoint, underwriting everything. You still need the wisdom and the guardrails, but eventually you'll learn it and immerse yourself with it. But so you need the technology on the front end, and it's all AI driven and based. But you still have to be a human being because this is their baby. And if you ask them, in fact, at the last academy, we had some students come back who just they were a couple months into their first deal and they were doing a Q&A, and one of them asked the husband, they've just bought it, so they've owned it for a couple months and incredible increase in value already. And they said, so when do you think you'll sell this? 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? And the student who's now an owner said, I don't know if I'm ever going to sell this. This is my baby. And I'm in the back of the room just listening, and my head perked up. So then when this was Q&A, picked up the mic and I said, did you say that was your baby? And the whole room, because I've said this to them 9 times now, this is their baby. And this was not scripted. That was his gut emotion when asked that question. I said, did you just say that was your baby? And everybody looked at me and started laughing like they got it. Do you understand what I'm saying now? He just
Yeah.
bought it and it's his baby. He hasn't had 20 years with this thing. He's had 3 months with it and it's already his baby. That's that. If you get to that level of understanding, then you can walk into that conversation with the right perspective.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I love that. All right. So one last question. All right. If you could leave just one deed behind, one action, mindset, or even lesson for anybody listening to us today, what would that be?
Now I understand the name of the podcast. I thought it was going to be all about obviously deeded real estate, which is a play on words you took advantage of. That's now I love your podcast name. That's awesome.
Thank
Not that I didn't before. I didn't understand, or I thought I understood what was behind it.
you. We're
Undeeded,
not called nothing like yours, though, successful idiots. But
yeah, well,
anyways,
we're just because
it's funny.
we're idiots despite ourselves. We're successful despite the fact that we're idiots because of AI. That's the whole point. So one deed, or how about this? Can I give a book recommendation?
I love that.
Okay.
Go. I'm writing down.
I love this one. It's called Be Your Future Self Now. And I can't believe it took me a couple years to even hear about it and read it because it's been out, I think, for 3 or 4 years. It's written by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who's the co-author
I've heard
of,
of him before.
have you ever read Who Not How?
Yes.
So he's the actual author. Dan
Okay.
Sullivan is the content creator, and that's the whole point of Who Not How.
I love Dan Sullivan.
Yeah, me too. I go to Strategic Coach. I go to those workshops once a quarter. I love it. It's my peaceful time away where I get to, with other entrepreneurs, we just get to decompress and try to be better leaders. And they also wrote together, and I think Ben Hardy has a few other books, but Be Your Future Self Now. The other book they were is 10x is better than 2x. That's those two together again.
I just
But
started reading that one, by the way.
oh, it's phenomenal. Be Your Future Self Now. I love. So I had heard of MrBeast. I'm sure you have as well. I'm sure
Yep.
everybody listening has at least heard of him. I have heard of him because I have two teenage boys who will watch inane stuff like that. And every now and then I'll stumble upon them watching it and go, what is this? What are you watching now? And I have, yeah, he gets sucked into it because it's interesting. And he does anywhere from actually very charitable stuff, but really honorable charitable stuff, to just crazy, stupid things like when he counted to 100,000 and then later counted to 300,000. I don't even know who would watch this or why you would do it. But he is the most followed human being on the planet. So there's a method to the madness. But I bring him up because the beginning of Be Your Future Self Now is actually all about him and how he became who he became. A story I had no idea. I knew nothing about. And it is one of the most impactful books you can read because of it. Remember the saying, you've heard it a million times. You need to set a goal, or if you set a goal, you can reach your goal, or if you can't reach your goal, if you don't set a goal, or what it brings the dimension to setting goals that's been missing this whole time from those cliches. What he did when he was 17 years old. Do you know he's only 27?
No.
He's only 27 years old. What he did a little over 10 years ago, one October night, was he recorded 4 videos instead of studying for a test, as the story goes. Woody was a YouTube gamer, something else I'll never understand why people watch, but kids watch it. And he had, don't hold me to this, but I think he had roughly 8,000 followers as of the night of the recording of these 4 videos. And they watched him play games. And he recorded these 4 videos, and the 4 videos were to be released 6 months in the future, a year in the future, 5 years in the future, and 10 years in the future. So the 10-year video was just released in October, of this past October. And he set goals for himself that night. In 6 months, I hope I have, I don't know, I don't remember the numbers, I'll make it up, 20,000 followers. In a year, I hope I have 100,000 followers, or maybe 20,000 was a year. I don't know. Whatever his goals were that he set, he shattered them in a year. Even his 10-year goal was shattered in a year. And the whole point is when Cortez burned the ships, there was no going back, right? That was the whole point of burning the ships. What MrBeast did that night as a 17-year-old was record videos and schedule them to be released publicly at future dates. It was the social media equivalent of burning the ships. He set goals that he announced to the public, or would be released and announced to the public, that he had to now fulfill. And so he started acting as if he was that person already with 1 million followers, which I think was his 10-year goal. He started acting like that the next day. And it reshaped how he did everything. So it's the whole concept of being your future self now is, if you have a goal 3 years from now, 5 years from now, if you're listening to this podcast and you're saying to yourself, 1 year from today, I want to own a storage facility, then you need to start acting like you own it today and doing those things today that is going to make sure 1 year from now you'll have yourself as the owner of a storage facility, or in a storage facility, whatever. And what you'll find is, if you start doing that today with that 1 year goal, you'll probably be in one in 6 months or 7 months or 8 months. So that's applicable to anything. I'm using storage because we're talking about storage. But I love that book for that reason. It's a total mindset shift that we need to go through personally. And it doesn't cost anything. It's just changing how you think about what you do and who you are as a person, and becoming that person today. You want to be Mr. Deed with 100,000 downloads podcast in 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, then you need to start acting and doing those things today that will make sure that happens at that goal. And the most amazing part of all that is, if you do that today, you act like a guy with 100,000 downloads, you'll achieve that faster than the goal. And that's the whole point. And that's what he did. And he blew away his goals because he started acting like the guy with 1 million followers when he was 17.
It's a powerful message, man.
Really is. It's
And
deep. It's easy to understand, and it's deep at the same time.
yeah, and on top of that, you even gave us an extra little gold nugget there with the book as well. But no, I love that. I love that. I'm just thinking in my man, that's awesome. So I really appreciate you leaving that last nugget right there behind right before we ended the show. So I think that was absolutely amazing. We appreciate that.
My
So
pleasure.
Joe
Just
just
happy you had me.
Yeah, no, dude, that's awesome, man. Joe, so once again, thank you for so much being on the show. Guys, we're going to have all of Joe's contact details below and also too, so make sure you reach out to him if self-storage is possibly something that you want to get into. Make sure that you reach out to him. Maybe he can be your next mentor when going down that road. So we really appreciate you having you on the show, Joe. We thank you so much. And listen, my listeners, if you guys absolutely love this episode, which I don't know why you wouldn't, all right. So hopefully it made you understand real estate better, business better, even, hey, new books to read. All right. Make sure that you keep on following us. We have another video. Just click on the link right here. Watch the next video that we have coming for you as well. Thank you so much, Joe, for being on the show. We appreciate you. And guys, thank you so much for listening to the Mr. Deed podcast show. Take care. If this episode helped you understand real estate better, the next one takes it even further, covering everything from investing strategies to honest agent insights. Learn how to make smarter real estate decisions, whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out. Click the video on screen to keep watching.